Okay, hello, I'm Paul with Protective Systems. We're a fire suppression contractor. We're here at Palm Beach County today going over the Novec 1230 fire suppression system. Okay, what we have here is our Kitty Aries panel. This is the fire suppression control panel. This is the graphic enunciator for this fire suppression system. And this is the power supply. These are the three main components that make this system. Okay. Up above here, we'll show we have the detection, which are the smoke detectors that are both in the ceiling and in the subfloor. Right next to the detector is a typical nozzle that is located per design for flow ratio to extinguish the fire in this room. Okay, the nozzles are located throughout the data center, throughout the NOC, the print area. There's also in the subfloor to discharge the gas, and on the first floor system. Okay, so we're going to go take a look at the Novec 1230 tanks, and then we'll visit the pull stations, the abort buttons. We'll cover the sequence of operations of first alarm, second alarm, and release. Okay, so let's go take a look at the tanks. Okay, and here we have one of the many cylinders that we have located in the print room, the data center, the NOC, electrical room, and the first floor. Okay, this is your agent container. This is Novec 1230, a clean agent product. Okay, just some of the things we have here: liquid level indicator. Okay, this is a low pressure switch. In case there is a low nitrogen mixture in the tank, it'll give you a low pressure signal back to the panel as a trouble. This is a high pressure alarm. This is if somebody has manually activated this cylinder only. This will regenerate an alarm so that all the rest of the cylinders will then catch up to this one. Okay, here we have the maintenance bypass switch, and this maintenance bypass switch is for this one cylinder. Located at each cylinder location, at the print room, data center, the NOC, and the electrical room, and the first floor, there'll be a maintenance bypass switch for this. Okay, and this is used when there's going to be welding or there's going to be air conditioning work being done in any of the protected or hazardous areas, so that in case there's an arc or accident, we're not discharging the gas. Okay, so the systems will be put in bypass, and the main panels will be acknowledged and silenced for trouble. Okay, until the work is done, and then the systems can be brought back to normal. Okay, that's what this switch done. We'll get a little bit more into that when we go to the panel and how the panel works. Okay. Located at all means of egress to each area is an abort button and a manual release. We'll also get into that with the sequence of operation here in a minute. Okay, at each means of egress for each zone, you have the print shop is one zone, or the print room's one zone, the data room's one zone, the electrical room's another zone, and the NOC is its own zone. So each one of those zones is going to have, at the means of egress, to get out of that area, you're going to have an abort button, okay, and you're going to have a manual release. Okay, so we're going to go into explaining how the system works on first alarm, second alarm, delay times, when to use the manual release, when to use the abort. Okay, and we'll get to that here in a minute. Okay, right above us here, what we have is the discharge nozzles. Recapping from what we had said earlier, the discharge nozzles are located per design to cover a full flood system. So in the data center, we have multiple areas where the nozzles are. They look just like this, and we have the nozzles under the floor as well for the subfloor. Okay, just to give you an understanding of how Novec or clean agents work and how they descend into the room, you're not going to have a discharge and the whole room is going to turn cloud white. Okay, it's more of a curtain effect. You're going to have a discharge and the pressure is going to be blowing out. The Novec 1230 in the cylinder is liquid, but once it reaches the nozzles and is being blown out into the area, okay, it vaporizes. So you can imagine it's going to be one white cloud as a curtain on the very high portion of the room closest to the nozzles. As the 10-minute hold time comes into effect, you're going to have descending agent. So the 70 degrees of the room is going to drastically change at the point where the agent is. So if the agent is at 7 feet, it's going to be closest to 0 at 7 feet, but still 70 degrees underneath it. As the curtain starts to descend, reaching floor level, that versus the 10-minute holding time, the 70 degrees of the room will come above and the curtain will descend down to the floor. After a 10-minute holding time, there's no cleanup of the Novec or clean agent system thereof. It's not a water base, so there's no water residue. It's a clean system, so there will be no dust particles or cleanup of the clean agent system. Okay, we're now here at the front entrance to the data center. Okay, and going over this one more time, here's our manual release station. Here's our abort button. We have a bell and we have a horn strobe. Okay, when the system detects first alarm, meaning first detection of smoke, you're going to have a bell sounding throughout the protected area. Okay, this bell will ring if there's smoke detected in the data center. If there's smoke detected in the print room, the bell in the print room would ring and not this one. Same goes for the NOC, same goes for electrical and first floor. If there's an alarm or a condition in that area of hazard, that audible bell will ring to let you know first alarm, meaning first detection, first alarm, this has now notified the base building. It's time to take a look around and see what the problem is. Okay? Once the smoke migrates in the protected area to a second detector, the bell will stop working and the horn strobe will start to sound and flash. Okay? This is an indicator that smoke has migrated, the system's getting ready to discharge. So the moment the horn starts to sound, 60 seconds afterwards, you're going to have a discharge of the clean agent, of the Novec 1230 system. Not in all areas, only in the area of hazard that the detection was picked up. Okay, so if it's the print, the data, the knock, electrical, or the first floor, that's where it would discharge, only in that area. Okay, so recapping, if I have a first alarm, I'm going to have a bell. If the smoke migrates, I'm going to have a horn strobe. Well, I here have an abort button. If I have 60 seconds from the moment the horn strobe goes off before discharge, I can hold down the abort button. This will keep the system from discharging for the duration. If I'm standing here holding this button for over a minute, 2 minutes, it's going to keep the agent from discharging. The system knows to count to 60 seconds and wait until this button is released. Once I've released this button, the reason it's closest to every means of egress is that once I release the button, I have 5 seconds to leave the room. If I release the button, I've made a conscious decision that I'm going to leave the room. So I'm going to let go of the button and I'm going to leave the room. Within 5 seconds, the gas will discharge in the protected area of hazard that the detection picked up the smoke condition. Okay? And we're going to go into that a little bit more further when we get to the control panel. The manual release, again, each area of hazard or every zone, and I'll say it over and over, the print, the data, the knock, the electric room, and the first floor has a pull station at each means of egress or every way out of the protected space. What's going to happen here, if you're walking the facility and you notice flames and there's an area of protection that's of great concern, you have the ability of pushing in here and pulling the pull station and leaving the room. This will give you a few seconds and it will discharge into the room, going through the bell, horn, straight to the releasing audibility, letting everybody know who's out of the room that's going to be entering the room that the system has discharged. So that's what you would use the manual release for. Okay? If you detect something the system hasn't seen or hasn't detected, you see flames, you know there is a rack that has a lot of information, you need to put out the fire now, you run out to the closest means of egress, you pull the pull station within a few seconds, gives you time to leave, the agent will discharge. Okay? Outside of the door, I will show you what the release strobe looks like, and that is if you're walking into an area and you walk up to the door and the release strobe is flashing, do not enter the room because somebody either A, has pulled the manual pull station, or B, the system has automatically discharged and the agent has been discharged into the room. Okay? So let me show you what the release looks like, the release strobe. Okay, what we have outside of the protected areas, the doors leading into the protected areas, is the agent release strobe. This strobe will be flashing only for the protected area that has discharged. Okay? On the door, you're going to have signage telling you, warning, this is a protected area. It has an extinguishing system, and this system is a 3M Novec 1230. Okay, so all the doors leading into a protected area have the signage, and it also has the release strobe right outside of it. Now, the way the system is designed for this facility, if you are in the data center and you're walking into the NOC, there is a strobe before you walk into the NOC. If that strobe is flashing, do not enter the NOC. Okay, if you're in the NOC, walking into the data center, and that strobe is going off, well, that means the agent has discharged in the data center. Do not enter the data center. Same goes for the print shop. On either side of the door, if you're in the print shop and you see the release strobe flashing, don't enter the data center. If you're in the data center and you see the strobe flashing above the door, do not enter the print shop. It's simple. That's why the signage is there, because it's separated areas of protection, so that it's not a complete flood of all rooms, just protecting the areas necessary. Okay? Okay, we're back at the main control panel, and we've opened the lid right here so you can see the actual component. This is the main fire suppression control panel, but it is a network. So this is the third floor protection, the NOC, the data center, and the print, and the electrical room, and this is the first floor. Okay? So the function and controls of this system for the third floor are your acknowledge, silence, and reset buttons for this floor. Okay? For the first floor, the same display, but it's called an annunciator, is located on the first floor in an email box on the wall. Okay? So these controls will be for the third floor, and the first floor controls will be the same annunciator, but only for the first floor. Okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and recap. If we have a smoke detector in any of the protected zones, first alarm, you're going to get a bell. If you have migration of smoke to a second detector, you're going to get a horn strobe. Okay? Within 60 seconds of the delay, you're then going to have a release. The horn strobes inside will still be sounding, but the release strobes outside the protected areas will be flashing as well. Okay? So if I want to silence the system, I'm going to press acknowledge, and then I'm going to press silence, and all that's going to do is silence the audibles, but it's not going to keep the gas from discharging. Okay? That's pretty much all the controls here. A general reset of this system for this floor would be pressing and holding the reset button for more than 8 seconds, and that will reset this panel here. If there's still a condition on a smoke detector in the subfloor or ceiling, it's going to illuminate here, but it'll come right back on the control panel. Okay? So on the graphic panel here, the advantages are, you know what detectors are in the subfloor. You'll have an amber light, and in the ceiling you'll have a red light. Regardless of what zone you're in, that's the color combination. Yellow for subfloor and red for ceiling. The same for the first floor, but the first floor only has ceiling detectors. Okay, now what we're going to have here is a brief explanation of the dry pipe system. The dry pipe system is not separate zones, okay, for the third floor. It is one zone. So all the sprinkler protection in the data center, in the NOC, the electrical room, and the print room is coming back to here. So everything in those computer rooms is dry pipe. The wet water is right here underneath the clapper. When the fire suppression system goes off, it's going to energize a solenoid, and what that's going to do, it's going to blow out the top pressure of the clapper, allowing the water to fill the pipes. There will be no water in the computer room, only in the pipes waiting at the sprinkler heads in case the clean agent system does not put out the fire. Okay? And this is your pre-action system. So that pretty much wraps up the Novec 1230 training for this facility.